Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, another video about the Lenovo server that we have here for evaluation. I may have inadvertently led you astray. Now, in my defense, it wasn't my intention to lead you astray, but I went back and looked at my Lenovo has sent me, something to play with video. I realized I didn't really thoroughly go over the hardware specifications of this machine quite as well as I should have. So that's what this video is going to be about today. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and put that server back on the bench, and we're going to kind of do a teardown of it and talk about it while I'm doing it, and some of the limitations I found and some of the nice things I found. I mean, I really am in love with this server, but we'll get to that. Okay, so, I got to thinking, while I got this beastie here, I kind of semi-tore this server down, but not really. So we're going to do a deep dive into this server today, and of course this is the IBM ThinkSystem, the SE350 that Lenovo has given on loan to me. We'll go over the front panel, VGA, a couple of SFP plus connectors that are running at 10 gig, and then SFP running at 1 gig, a management port. These two ports, I'm not quite sure what they're used for yet. We'll figure it out. We thought they were gigabit ports, but I evidently was wrong. Two USB 3 ports on the front. These are for wireless antennas. I believe these are the Lte antennas. You got power, you've got ID, then of course you've got a pull-out service tag, a little handle for the front, and then on the back, you'll notice there are two more antenna connections. Those are for the inboard or built-in Wi-Fi. Then your two power plugs plug in here. You get another, I believe that's it's a serial port, and then two USB, and then two more wireless antenna connections. So that is the unit. I'd say 10 pounds. It's pretty hefty. Now this unit is made to go in conditions or environments that are not conducive to computers, and I'll just leave it at that. That factory floors, manufacturing, that kind of thing. They also build this as being like in a small mom and pop. You could run, use this thing to run your point of sale and your time clock and maybe your surveillance cameras, because as powerful as this unit is, you should probably run something like Proxmox, XCP, Citrix, Hyper-V, or ESXi, VMware, in order to kind of get the best bang out of this machine. That way it'll allow you to set up a lot of virtual machines on here and take care of all the BP cores that this processor has. Now, let me quit referring to them as IBM because it's Lenovo. Spec this thing out and sent it to me with a 16-core processor. Almost maxed out. The RAM is 256 gig. This will take up to 512. Sent me a couple of boot NVMEs, 480 gig in a mirror, and a hardware mirror, and then sent an additional couple of 1 terabyte M2 or NVMe SSDs. I'm going to open it and show you everything, but basically they sent me a spec'd out system with a video card. Now, I have this unit initially for 90 days, but the salesperson was telling me up to 6 months, and I said, well, that's good, because frankly, I'm going to want to do a deep dive into this little unit and show people some of the potential in a little bitty package. So now, in order to get into this thing, it's going to take, well, at least my unit does in my case, it's going to take a little force, and I'm sorry I kicked the camera. Someday I'll be rich and I'll be able to afford an overhead camera, but for now this is all I've got, so we got to make do. Basically, you push on this little rubber piece here, and you push, and as you can see, it took me quite a bit of force to get that off, but that's just in my particular case. Now, be aware that this unit is fully unlocked, but it does have tamper sensors in there. It knows when it's been moved. It knows when the lids come off, and you can set this thing up to where it'll lock it. You could encrypt the hard drive and then tell the security features in this unit, hey, if you detect movement or tampering, encrypt the hard drive. Turn the hard drive encryption on, lock the system down, don't let anybody in without the proper password. Now, this little box, if you just saw my video on my Lenovo 3450, 3350, the big 2U server I have that's about 11 years old from IBM/Lenovo, that thing is huge compared to this. This is probably a quarter its size, and it is, frankly, it's an engineering marvel. The other thing that marvels me, that I marvel at, is laptops, how small they are, and how well engineered they are. So this unit is decked out. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the side so you can get an idea. The exhaust fans are here, and these little suckers are loud. Keep in mind this unit's designed to go into an environment that is less than conducive to computers. There's a baffle here, tells you not to remove it. It needs it for cooling because it directs 2 of these fans over the CPU. 256 gig of DDR4 RAM. I'm not going to take it out. I don't want to, risk damaging it. Then you have, you'll notice here that you have some wires coming from these antennas. They are coming around to this side. There's more antenna wires coming around here, and the wireless module is right up here. So you can see the label says drive 1, and then you can see here, if this thing will zoom in, these are actually the 2 480 gig SATA 3 NVMe drives from Lenovo. There's one on that side, and you can see how the card is mounted in there, and why I didn't want to pull it out, because this thing is blocking it, and then the tamper switch is right here, the lid switch. So let me flip the server around, and here's the other side of that NVMe holder right there. RAM, CPU, here are the wireless cards. One of them is LTE, and one of them is either Bluetooth or wireless, Wi-Fi. And then there's the block that we're gonna remove next, just to give you an idea. So the next thing I want to do is take off this part here so we can see what kind of goodies are underneath there. Now they give you directions on how to do it. So number 1 is you want to remove the screws, or a screw on the side here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove a screw that's back here. Pay attention to the size of the screws so you don't get them in the wrong place. So 2 is to remove the 2 screws above the handle. So here's the handle. There's 2 screws. 1. And 2. Now I tore this down partially when I was showing you it the first time, but I really didn't do any detail or show you in detail. 3 is remove the screw on the rear of the cage. That's the one back here on the motherboard itself. And it's hard to tell when you have that bad boy out of there. This riser cage should just pull up. Yes, it does. It pulls up, and then being very careful because we don't own this. There's this screw. There's another cable that's connected, so you need to be aware of it. You take that, and then this cable right here, which is a SATA cable. And then let's move this to the side, and let's take a closer look at what we've got here. All right, so the first thing you'll notice is we have an NVIDIA video card in here, and it's an NVIDIA Tesla T4, so you know this thing has got power to spare when it comes to for video for processing cores. So and hopefully I'll figure out how to install an operating system on here that can take advantage of that Tesla 4 card. There are no outputs on this card, of course, because it's made to be used in a virtual environment or a compute environment. And then what Lenovo is included here is their M2 Sata Nvmc data adapter. I don't know if you can read that past for revision 1. But basically it has 2 NVMe spots here, and then one of these is populated with a, what is that? That is it's a Lenovo drive. It's a 960 gig SATA model drive, and there's, if I turn it around here to where you can see, there's another one sandwiched in on that side as well. So I could, in theory, take this card out. I just frankly don't want to take it out any further than I have to. But and it looks like you have to have it looks like the plug on this side is for Lenovo cards only. So you only in effect have one PCI Express port, unless they make one of these with 2, which I doubt because it's only a 2U case. But this server is fully customizable. So I ordered the one with the NVIDIA test slice and put me a good video card in. I ordered 2 more hard drives on it. I think the base price in this unit starts somewhere around $1,100–1,200. But it's fully upgradable and fully customizable. Well, within the limitations of the parts that they offer on this thing. But it's, you can pretty much customize this any way you want to suit your needs. There is the unit ripped apart. You can see how it's configured. Just look at the quality of this unit. I cannot say enough things. I'm falling in love with this little computer, other than it being noisy as hell. But, if I were to use it, I'd have it away in a server closet anyway. So I don't think I'd be hanging this on the wall or have this sitting on top of my filing cabinet in my business, because I wouldn't be able to hear my customers if I did. But I wanted you to take a look at the guts, the inside of it, how they've got it configured, the quality. And I'm impressed by it, and I really can't thank Lenovo enough for letting me borrow it for this period of time. Now, one of the ways they're able to cram all of that capability into that little bitty box is because of these 2 devices I'm about to show you. There's one. And here's 2. So these are AC adapters. These convert the alternating current 120, 240 volts, depending on where you are on the planet, and convert them into DC power. Now, one of my complaints is that these leads are not that long. They're about as long as my forearm, if you can see that in there. So that's about how long they are, up to my elbow, from my tip, almost the tip of my thumb to my elbow is where that power cable goes. So that's not very long, but it can't be very long because this is DC current, and DC doesn't travel as efficiently as far as AC does. So they're not that heavy, but they get hot, and there's 2 of them for redundancy. So not only do you have to hang this on the wall or put it on your filing cabinet, but these have to be right next to it. They can't be very far away. Like I say, from my thumb to my elbow is how long those cables are in the back. And one of my subscribers noted in my previous video, because I was like, oh, these fans keep ramping up and down. He was like, well, you moron. Well, he was nicer than I'm being. He was like, take these off the top of the unit and see if the fans don't ramp down. Well, sure enough, at idle or not in use, with these power supplies off of the top of the unit, I didn't realize they were putting out that much heat. It did run cooler, or the fans didn't ramp up near as much. So not only is the engineering inside so tight and compact, but keep in mind they don't have to cram power supplies in there either and get rid of that heat. So some would say then, well, if they don't need to get rid of the heat from the power supplies, why are the damn fans so loud on the other unit? Well, they just are. I suppose Lenovo could work on that, and perhaps they will. You should be able to set that via the environment you're in. And now that I don't have the power supply sitting on top of the unit, I'll be using the unit more, doing work and experiments with it. I'll keep an eye on the fans and see what kind of speeds we get on them, and how noisy they are moving forward. so I'm not going to face the camera while I do this. I'm going to read right from Lenovo's webpage on this particular server, because there's still some question as to what kind of niche this server fills. So right from the mouth of Lenovo, the ThinkSystem SE350 is a purpose-built server that is half the width and significantly shorter than a traditional server, making it ideal for deployment in tight spaces. Don't go there. Tight spaces. It can be mounted on a wall, stacked on a shelf, or mounted in a rack. Okay. The ThinkSystem SE350, marketing speak, that's what this puts: increased processing power, storage, and network closer to where data is generated, allowing actions resulting from the analysis of that data to take place more quickly. Now, I don't know how placing a server closer to your data source is going to help you generate data quicker, but again, that is just what they're saying here. The server has wired connections up to 10 gig and optionally supports both Wi-Fi and LTE wireless connectivity. Since these edge servers are typically deployed outside of secure data centers, they include technology that encrypts the data stored on the device if it is tampered with, only enabling authorized users to access it. So, like I said, if you had this out in your, say you had it sitting on your filing cabinet in your office and somebody broke in and stole it, you could set it up so that if it detected movement, it would encrypt the data on your drive and therefore, keep somebody else from getting it. All right, so let's see. It supports a single processor from the Intel Xeon D processor family. Now, the one I have is a 16-core processor. Let's see. Turbo boost, hyper-threading, virtualization technology, support for up to 4 true DDR4 memory DIMMs, and up to 256 gig of memory using 64 gig DIMMs, which is what I have in there. Let's see, you can have up to 8 M2 data drives, SATA or Nvmc. Supports 1 or 2 additional M2 SATA drives for OS boot and applications. Let's see, 2 10 gig SFP Plus or 10 gig base T ports, 1 PCI Express 3 X16 slot, which is used in the one they sent me with the Tesla T4 card, and support for the NVIDIA T4 GPU for enhanced workloads at the edge of your network. Let's see, it supports remote management. It's got ECC memory, RAID redundancy. It has the 2 redundant AC power adapters with these short cables. Keep that in mind. So not only going to have to mount the server, you're going to have to figure out a place to mount those power supplies. They do that to reduce the size of the physical unit. So I think it's a good idea. I don't mind external power supplies because, you could have a couple of spares on hand. That way, if one of them were to break, you just basically plug in a new one. So you have LTE wireless connectivity. That would come in handy in case the internets went down. Lenovo X Clarity controller and the provisioning manager. I do like the provisioning manager. I'm going to show you in the Windows and the ESXi, the VMware setup, how I use that provisioning manager. Auto restart in the event of loss of AC power. 3-year or 1-year customer replaceable unit and on-site limited warranty, 9x5. Next business day, optional service upgrades are available. Yeah, and they've got a lot of, let me flip over here to the site that I'm looking at. So these are kind of the configurations you can have the unit in when you order it. And I was wrong in the front. These are supposedly reserved SMA ports. So the, let's see if we come around to the back here. These are the Lte antennas on the right-hand side, and the left-hand side is the wireless LAN antennas. Now mine, the unit they sent me does come with LTE and does come with wireless LAN, but I don't have a SIM to put in there, so I can't test it. I'm not big into wireless on a server, so it's not something I really messed with, but it is in there if you want it. And it clearly shows these are 1 gigabit Ethernet ports on the front, but Again, I haven't figured out how to get those working. Time will tell. Here's the inside of the unit. The wireless LAN and the LTE wireless adapter over on this side, as I thought. DIMM slots, processor, TPM connector, that's for China users. SATA connector, lock switch. Let's see, and then they give you a system architecture here of how everything, what chipset handles what modules, etc. And then, like I say, this thing is fully customizable. I'm sure there's a base unit and then there's options you can add to it and the price goes up from there. But keep in mind, you're paying for a really, really compact unit, so that's going to have a premium price, and I would expect to pay a premium price for this unit. Like I said, I'm kind of in love with this unit, but I'm just going to kind of scroll down, and I'll try to remember to include this link for the specifications on this unit so that you can go look them up for yourself. But yeah, if you got kind of a rough environment and you want a really compact server, I can think of a couple of clients of mine that could use something like this. And you can see all the modules you can get, different configurations, internal drive options, network modules. You can pretty much configure this thing any way you want to. Power supplies, it tells you which ones it comes with. The wattage. I think the ones I have are 250 watt. No, I'm wrong. They're 240 watt AC adapters. So now those cables are short because going from the power supply to the unit, because it's DC power, and DC has really high loss. The longer you get the cable, the higher the loss in power. So they try to keep those as short as possible. So but yeah, and then they've got mounting options, so you can see here. So, go take a look at this at the website, get more specifications. You can even stack the units together on the wall. To give you an idea, they even have mounting brackets now for the AC adapters, so that's handy. Yeah, that's kind of cool. You can put them side by side in a 1U rack environment, and they have the cable management arm, and it looks like an AC adapter. That's really kind of cool. So if you did end up putting these in a 1U rack, you can include the power supplies with it as well. All that's for sale. Yeah, kind of cool, huh? Yeah, it's really a versatile server. And then the big one is operating system support. So Server 2019, 2016, Red Hat Enterprise, SUSE Linux, and VMware. Now, things that are not on there, Citrix is not on there, XCP is not on there, Proxmox is not on there. There's no reason we couldn't try to get them to run, but yeah, they may not have all the drivers, and that's usually the problem. But cool, yeah. So there you go. I hope you find that a more thorough teardown of that server. Now, I don't have a use case for this server. Most of you probably don't. It's not designed for a home lab or something like that. They call it an edge server because it goes on the edge between your systems there at your office and the cloud. I guess it's what they call it. If I could afford something like this, I would just keep it here. I just find it fascinating and small, and I've also found that one of my subscribers recommended I keep the power supplies off the top of the unit, and that might help with the heat. But also, or the fan noise. That turned out to be true, but also what turned out to be true is making sure you have the right software, loaded on there properly. And we'll learn that as I show you how to install Windows Server 2019 onto this unit. Why having the software on there affects how the fans operate. Now, I did ask Lenovo to send me an NVIDIA, high-end NVIDIA video card in there with the idea of showing you how to configure that for Windows Server 2019 and Hyper-V. Well, that's not going to happen. I'll just tell you that right now. And I'm also going to be putting ES6i in here and playing around with that, but I'm also not going to show you how to do the pass-through on that because, one, it requires an enterprise-level license on the NVIDIA Tegra card. And while I'm sure Lenovo would provide me with one, or NVIDIA would, I have gone into I think it's outside the scope of what it is that I do. It's not that I can't do it, it's that I really don't have the time to get that in depth and do it now. And it's, like I say, it's really kind of outside the scope of what it is that I talk about on my channel here. So I might revisit it in the future. I'll probably never have a Tegra T4 card in my clutches again, because I simply can't afford them. But it's not something I really offer as a service to my clients. It's not something they're needing right now. Now, we might revisit that, but the cost of these cards is pretty enterprise level in the first place. So I just wanted to see if it would just work natively through Windows. Now, my next video, I'll show you how to load an operating system on here. I'm going to do Windows Server 2019, and I'm also going to do ESXi, because both of those operating systems are supported. And I want you to see how helpful the install assistant is on Lenovo to get these operating systems installed. So I'll probably do it in one video, unless it gets to be too long. Then we'll split it up over 2 videos. So there you go, YouTube. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Leave your comments down in the comments. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. We'd love to see you come back and see us. Yeah, that's how it should be. Donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal, Patreon, and we now have the join button under YouTube as well. So there's 3 different ways to subscribe. We appreciate it. The money does go back into keeping the channel running. So again, we appreciate all your contributions. And please don't forget to come and see us again. And don't forget, we'll see you and you on the other side.